Good afternoon, those watching on LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us today on the Ribbon for Travel events scheduled for this hour with the title Why and How to Live in Connection. And to help us with that, I'm joined by Martin. Martin, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. Thank you for asking. I'm doing well. Yeah, very excited about the presentation.
I can see that. Yes, we were chatting a little bit before going live, and I could see that you were excited about that. That's really good. You contacted us. I think I don't know how we got introduced. Can you remember who introduced us to each other?
I think Xenia, a friend of mine.
That's right. Ksenia introduced us. That's correct. Yes. And when you told me the title of your presentation, I was confused. And until you explained it to me, and then I began, light bulb moment. So I got that, and I'm hoping that those who are watching today is going to go through that exact same, session. So yeah, I think we are ready to go with it. Right? You have some slides that you want to show and present.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
talk through, but you are also expecting some sort of engagement from people who are watching, and you will talk about that, right? But we did test this week, and the comments in LinkedIn, they do work. They come through on here. So when you talk about that, just a reminder for those who are watching on LinkedIn, you can engage with us and send us a comment, and we'll give you a shout out as well. So there we go. So I think if you want to enable your screen share, I'll bring that onto the screen for you, and then we'll see your screen.
Yeah, just give me a second. Okay, yeah, sure. I'm all set.
And I think you need to click the plus share button, right, to share on the system.
Okay. Yeah. Oh.
And then I should see it on my end, and I'll bring it into the session.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, fine. I'll bring that on. Okay, good. Perfect. So the stage is yours, Martin.
Thank you very well, and welcome everyone to my presentation of why and how to live in connection. How we will start is with some philosophical questions. I specialized myself with a minor in philosophy, and I gained some insights in mental health and well-being by being part of a startup project called Turtle. It's a mental health platform, and about that mental health platform I can talk later if you're interested, but now it's mostly all about this presentation. I start with a very big question. Do we have a free will? I would like to have you thinking, everyone, about this question for about 30 seconds. Maybe write an answer in the comments, and from there we can interact and see what do we have here. Do people believe in free will or not?
Am I allowed to give you my answer on here without sending a comment? Is that correct? Can I tell you what I think?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that will be great.
So I think from my side, my answer is we do, but we might not know it, right? That's kind of, we're not conscious about it. I think we definitely do, but I don't know whether it's that obvious to us.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. I think I will just continue with this and share my vision on it. I think it's very important to believe that we have a free will, because that it gives each other a responsibility, and it gives also a right for a judgment system in our society. Though if we are thinking of finding one proof that we are not having a free will, another question is, are we determined? If you can find one proof that we are determined, then our will is not completely free. It's then limited to that one proof of that we are determined about. What I believe is that we do have choices to make. Though our will is not completely free, we are all determined to achieve some sort of happiness. Everyone is making choices to make themselves feel good, or to make themselves feel better.
Okay, and just to let you know, there is some user who jumped up with the word yes and exclamation mark. We can't see who it is because that user has, I think, not made their profile public, but the answer there is a big yes.
Okay, yeah, no, that's exciting. I'm happy that someone joined. So, well, we are here now that with a conclusion that we are determined to achieve happiness. Even if you imagine someone wants to find a state of being unhappy, which is very silly, of course, to think about, but it is just a test to check if this determination is right, to say. Even if a person wants to find unhappiness and finally achieves that state of being unhappy, that will satisfy that person and will fulfill that person and makes them slightly happy because of he finally reached that state. So we really cannot escape the desire or the will or the wanting to find some sort of happiness, some sort of good.
Very good, Martin. Now, there is a longer answer from Reynard Wolf. I'm going to put it on the screen. I don't know how that's going to work because it's going to be quite long. And I don't think you can see that screen because you're watching your presentation, but I'll read it out to you if that's okay.
Yeah, fine.
So Reynard is saying the question of free will boils down to one of the metaphysics. Are our felt, I'm not sure I pronounced it correctly, volitional states reducible to something outside and independent of consciousness? If so, there cannot be free will, for we can only identify with concepts of consciousness. But if instead neurophysiology is merely how our felt volitional states present themselves to observation from an outside perspective, it's a very long answer, but it ends with then we have to have free will. So Reynard, I'm apologizing for mispronouncing your comments there. It's above my pay grade, I'm afraid. But it seems to me that you have a deep insight into that. So thank you for commenting and thank you for being on the session.
Yeah, same wise here. I really like to dive into that comment more and to think about it later on. For now, I think what is the best for me is to continue with how I see it. So what I told just is that I believe there is no free will, completely free will, because of finding one opposite that we cannot choose, that we cannot desire different, and that's the desire or the will to find happiness or to be happy or have a fulfilled life. Everyone is finding having the need to feel good, and well, that's how I say we determine to happiness, and so we are not having a free will. So for me, like feeling, understanding this question, what is happiness? And I would like to thank you, you to think about it, and maybe you can share it as well in the comments. What is happiness to you? This question is very important since we have no choice of finding it otherwise. So if you really know what is happiness to you, then you can live a better life, because we basically have no choice in this desire. We all want to feel happy or be happy or fulfilled or feel good in our body, so
I can see someone in the audience that I know happiness for them would be his kids not throwing the food on the floor. He's got 2 young kids or 3 young kids in the house, and it was chaotic. But Andy, we keep picking on you, and I'll stop doing that. I'm sorry about that. But maybe that's your version of happiness, correct?
Yeah.
If anybody else has a comment on, what is happiness for them, that would be very interesting to hear. I think for myself, Martin, I've really discovered that happiness is access to time and access to space that I have time in. So that I have, that ability to have time for myself, time for things I want to get done. I think, in today's world specifically, it's very easy to not have access to enough time.
Yeah. Thanks. That's a very already a very deep answer and well thought. Well done. So how I see happiness is that for everyone it's a little different. What happiness means to them, or what a person makes to feel or experience happiness, and so that's why it's interesting to get to know which factor is always there that makes a person experience happiness. Because if you know that factor that everyone shares, that is always there when you experience happiness, then you can maybe investigate better what is happiness, and you maybe get to understand happiness better, and perhaps get some more happiness or manage it better in your life, right? So well, there is a factor that there is always there when experiencing happiness, and that is connection. And that's why this presentation is about why and how to live in connection. When you experience happiness, there's always a form of feeling connected and being connected with someone, or have what you really want to have. That's basically also connecting a desire or something that you wish or want to have with the result that you have. It's basically you connect both. So there's always some sort of connection when experiencing happiness. Though now this this word or this term connection is very vague, abstract, and that's why it's interesting to deepen this word connection and see what types of connections are there. So since we're determined to achieve happiness, so we are actually determined to connection and to find some sort of connection. I figured out that connection you can pretty well kind of symbolize with primary colors, like the colors red, blue, and yellow, and same as also in other colors. And I will explain that later on. I basically found 3 primary forms of connections. These are satisfying a desire, gravitation, like the Earth has gravitation, and interconnection, like communication and relation. I will dive into all of these 3 one by one. The first one is satisfying desire, and you see here on top directly a color of red. This is basically to understand the forms of connection and how they are also, when combined, create a different form of connection. Same as if you combine 2 primary colors, red and yellow, they can create orange, right? So satisfying desire, this is a very interesting one. It's what we are born with. We're all born, when we're born, we are all born with only questions and no answer. And directly when you're already a baby, you can experience this. The only thing that you have is only questions. You don't know what are the answers. You basically even don't know language. You have, of course, instincts. That's what we are born with. So, but knowledge and questions, we don't have that. And because we don't have questions, we have actually a desire to find the answers. And if you symbolize a question with a question mark, this is just funny and silly thought, but if you have a question mark symbolizing your question and you find finally the opposite, meaning the answer, it's kind of, if you mirrorize this question mark with the opposite, meaning the answer, and you see kind of love symbol, which is very funny. But here is the interesting part: if we were born with only answers, then we wouldn't have the desire to find questions about it, because if you have all the answers, you also already have all the questions. So we are born with that desire of connecting, satisfying desire. That's the first primary connection that I see. Explaining this form better, I have created this overview, because there are, of course, different desires that you can satisfy. There are deep and meaningful desires or wishes you want to complete, and you have more superficial and meaningless desires. These are basically on this scale from 1 to 10. And then you have also easy desires to satisfy, that is easy to satisfy, and more difficult. Knowing this, knowing this scale, and this can help you to let me see here, to scale in or assess what desires are more valuable or more important and what are less. And if you know what is more important for you, then you maybe can worry less about something that's actually superficial and meaningless. To understand this better, we go through some questions, and if you want to answer them, please fill it in the comments. Write a short word like is giving a compliment, how much happiness could you get from it? Is it a deep or a meaningful satisfaction that you can get out of it, or is it more superficial and meaningless? What is this to you? And is it easy to give, or is it very difficult to give? Well, maybe Rian, maybe you can answer this for yourself. How is this
Yes.
for you?
I don't find it easy to give, but when I do, it is fairly deep and meaningful. So don't know where that fits in there.
Yeah, so you said, well, it is deep and meaningful. It's not
Yes.
quite easy, but maybe
Yes.
also not difficult. You'll put it anywhere over there.
Yes. There
Yeah,
are
thank
comments. There are comments coming in. You can't see them, but let me just stop that screen sharing. You do well. No, actually, it doesn't change that for you. First of all, Reynard is reminding you that it's a fun fact that in Spain the question mark is actually reversed, right? So your little heart symbol there is already almost on the way. So that's quite a cool fun fact. Carolina Leisha, I can't pronounce your surname, Carolina. I'm so sorry. Her answer to your question about giving a compliment, she finds that easy and important.
Yeah.
And Reynard is just reminding us that a stronger connection equals a better compliment.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are your comments.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the comments. And also interesting fact about that question mark, that it is actually reversed. Though yet the symbol remains the same, and
Yes.
you have
Yes.
only one. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I fill it in for myself, and of course, this is for everyone different. But it's good to understand what are these things meaning to you, so you can focus on more deep and meaningful things that you would like to achieve or would like to have in your life, than superficial or meaningless. Well, I put giving a compliment over here. It's quite deep and meaningful to me if I give one, and I put it as quite easy. And just to understand is that you can multiply this one, like I put it here as 1 for easy because I find it quite easy, and an 8 for how deep and meaningful it is. And if you multiply 1, multiply 8, you have a score or a value of 8. Let me say 8 happiness points, right? And this is just interesting to keep in mind with the following question. How much happiness could you get from collecting $1 million?
Yeah, is that a trick question, Martin? Because I mean, it's easy if you're just getting it, right? You don't have to work for it. So that's the first part. It's easy, and it's. I think you're trying to catch us out here, but I would imagine, given your circumstances, I mean, again, if you do need that money and you desperately need to apply it, then of course it's going to have a lot more meaning. If you are, filthy rich and it's just something else, then yeah, it's perhaps less meaningful. But I mean, I think for most of us, it's going to mean a lot and it's going to be easy, right? There's some answers in the comments. Again, we can't see who that user is because if the user's profile is not public on LinkedIn, we just see LinkedIn user to protect their information. But their answer is tons and lots. So easy, so very easy and with lots of meaning. Karina is replying with probably a lot on the first part, but also very hard to get. So I don't know if she's meaning the other way around. Very hard to get. Yeah, I think she means it's hard to get that $1 million, but it will mean a lot. The question, Karina, was if somebody just gave it to you, how would you find that? And Reynard is saying, if it is very easy, it will be less rewarding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, that's what this overview is all about. If something is very easy, it's less rewarding. The satisfaction out of it is less. Yeah. So, well, thank you for interacting. I really like that. Appreciate it. And of course, it's all about interpretation. I did it for myself, and I put them over here. I find it because I was interpreting it as is it easy for me to collect it somehow or to earn $1 million? Well, then for me it's quite hard.
So then I misunderstood your question and Carolina understood it correctly, and so did Reynard. Of course, it's just me that got it wrong. But I mean, you may, when you meant collecting, you mean it. I thought you meant if somebody just gave it to you. But yeah, in my case, I want to change my answer.
Yeah. How would you say it? Like, is it earning then? I will just make a note for myself, so to make
I think in future you would probably say earning, not collecting. Yes, I think that's the
earning.
language translation. But Carolina and Reynard understood that correctly, and so did the
Okay,
LinkedIn
cool.
user. So well done. But I would probably change that to. But okay, I get it now, and I see where you've put yours. Makes sense.
Yeah, and because I didn't give it a meaning yet, it's only the money that I achieved. That's why I put it down here, that it's super meaning and superficial and meaningless, because it's money only. But of course, if you know already what to do with it, then it can be very meaningful, and you can put it over there. Just to understand how much happiness this could give to me with no idea how to use it. That is like 10 multiply 1 in total, a value of 10 happiness points, right? Like, this is just interesting. Next question, eating tasty food, how much happiness could you get from that? Is it superficial or very deep, meaningful? And again, this is also different for everyone, probably.
But I do like cooking, and I do like good tasting food. And I think when you say tasty, for me, that translates to not junk, but good food. And so for me, that would be quite a high score of, easy and meaning quite a lot.
Yeah, interesting. If you don't mind, I will just continue, because after this one, we have another question, and just to keep time.
Sure.
Yeah. So I put it over here. Well, maybe it's because I'm Dutch. I don't know. But eating tasty food is for me not very meaningful. But yeah, if you live very mindful, and it's a very meaningful or very deep connection you have with it, a lot of sensations, then indeed it can go up here, of course. Just to understand how much value points it gives to me, it's 2 multiply 3, and it gives me a value of 6 points, right? Now, last question. Everyone probably already guess where this will go to. Accomplishing life's purpose. That's, of course, a deep and meaningful for everyone, will that be, right? And also quite hard to achieve, quite difficult. So you can put it anywhere around here. And if you see that in the score, 9 multiplying 9 is 81 satisfying points, happiness points. Then you get to understand how much things mean to you, and what is actually worth focusing on, right? Going to next question, what happens when you desire something that is not yet satisfied? I would like to have people thinking about this and answering that in the comments.
Can you, just to make sure we understand it from the language perspective, do you mean this is something that you would like but have not yet achieved?
Exactly. So, for example, you're very much focusing on this one, but you have not achieved it, and or you really focus on, I want to be a millionaire, but you don't have the million, but you really need it. You really desire this, but you don't have it.
I mean, for me, that would mean that it occupies a lot of your time, right? Because that's what you want to focus on.
Yeah, exactly. It occupies a lot of time. That's true. Yeah.
Does it distract you then in that sense?
Yeah. Well, in a way, yes, and it's like it occupies a lot of time. That's an effect of not having this.
Yes.
So there are many effects that can be, but to the core point, what it does is, I will just give here the answer. It goes in minus. So if you have this overview of value points, that then it goes in minus something that you have not achieved. And when you focus on something that you have not achieved, and you have a lot of minuses, you can basically balance this out as is if it is a balance sheet of money, that you're in debt of your own happiness points that you could give yourself. So that's why people often say happiness is about be happy with what you have and not focusing on what you don't have. Another advice, because everyone has things that they actually would like to have, but they don't have it. It's almost impossible to be only happy with what you have and have no desires at all. But if you could minimize the desires that you don't have, then you balance it out in a better way. And if you can focus every day on things that you do have and pay attention to it, then your balance by the end of the day is more positive.
There's a comment from Reynard just saying it's an interesting value system which helps decide, what you do with your life day, Martin. So he says he finds it interesting.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. So this was about satisfying desire. That's just one primary form of finding connection. Now we go to a different one, gravitation. It's just the natural law, of course, gravitation. The Earth has gravitation, but gravitation is in a lot of things. It's also that everything actually has some sort of gravitation. Everything that is mass, Earth is a big mass, but everything that has mass has gravitation and a will to connect. And the same that can be mass has desire, but the other things also thoughts. If you think a lot, then or certain thoughts, then these thoughts, they attract similar thoughts as well. And that's very interesting because our first thoughts were created by ourselves when we were not very much as born as a critical thinker. Just click that one away. So when you're very little, then you have not that capability, not the skill of thinking critical about your own thoughts. Yet in the meantime, you're thinking these thoughts more and more when you grow up, because these thoughts were the most in your life by then. And that means that over time, you create more and more and more thoughts, like the first thoughts that you have. And that means that we have a pattern of thinking actually not critical, because we get used to think in the way that we did when we were young, right? If you don't understand it, you can write in a comment, or can get it later on. Another thing is about pain. Pain has also a will to connect themselves. You can almost see it as an independent body or an independent substance that wants to connect to different forms of pain. And so it attracts also other pain. But also positivity, right? If you think a lot positive, then it's more likely to think about other positive things, or you focus more on the positive things in life. So this is also a very interesting one. Third, primer color, the blue one, is a primer form of connection is interconnection. This is basically just how communication works. You send, if you're this one, and you achieve. This can be between two people, but it can be with many things. It can also be inside of your body yourself. They send signals to your brain, for example, and your brain achieves this. About interconnection, if you want to manage this one very well, then it's smart and wise to be open to express yourself, to tell what's going on, and also to be open to achieve and to listen, to observe what's going on with the other party. And as I say, this is, of course, between people, but it can also be in a business culture. This can be in relationships, of course, but also with your own body. If you feel pain, it's smart to don't continue running, right? Your body gives a signal, and and so on. Here's another slide, like what happens if you don't send, but you only receive. So, but that's basically what I just explained already. Just before I dive into the secondary forms of connection, I would like to have a little break to answer some questions or maybe comments that people have before we continue. So, are there any?
Sure. Martin, why don't you go back to the StreamYard screen, because I've taken your screen share off and then it's just me and you. You'll see when you get back on the screen now there were quite a lot of comments, etc. So I'm sure some of those people are still watching. I think the delay from us talking here and to them receiving it and then to them commenting is 10 or so seconds. So, they would now have seen by now the ending of the slideshow and, the break and then so on. So we need to give them a little bit of time. This what Reinhard refers to as that value system. Is it then a suggested exercise that you should for yourself sit down and write those things down and have them in front of you so that you can, like you say, remove some of those things that you don't have the ability to achieve just yet?
Yeah, exactly. It's also there are many things that you can get out of it, many insights yourself. Also, something that can help is set intermediate goals. If there is one goal too big, and just cut it in pieces, and then you have more times to reward yourself, right?
Yeah.
By the end of this presentation, I give 10 tips or a giveaway of for mental health, and these basically are a summary of the presentation. And in there, I will.
You should have started with that sales message, Martin.
yeah, true. Yeah,
Good
advice, though. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Shall I add your screen back into the stream and then you'll go back to your screen share?
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. So you're still share. Oh yeah.
I'm going to put it back now. Okay. So there we go. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we now go to the secondary forms of connection. I want to remind you of we had three primary forms of connection, and now the secondary forms of connection. They're a combination. Red and yellow makes orange, and satisfying a desire and gravitation makes a magnetism. And magnetism is, again, a natural law, but we find this in our own behavior as well. If you understand how magnetism works, then you know that there is some part of a magnet that pushes. It's what we can see as our behavior, what we say, how we look, what we do, what we show. And there's something that we attract, our circumstances, our life, friends that come into our life, feelings that you attract. So this is interesting to understand these basics. And then how magnetism applies to us is you attract something and you repel something. And what you attract is indeed circumstances. Then in the middle, there's an experience, which is very interesting to know what it is about. And then you choose behavior, how you behave, right? I just give you a few examples, and then after I give an advice on how to use this magnetism how it works, right? So, for example, there are pain circumstances. Then you experience pain, and the behavior could be that you want to avoid. You want to avoid the pain. Now, I don't know if it goes like this. No. So what I want you to think about, like, if you're choosing to avoid something because of you experience pain, have a memory of pain, you choose to avoid you because you have a memory of pain, then there is basically also something that you attract through this magnet is pain circumstances. So if you avoid, it cannot work with everything, but with most of the time this works. If you avoid, for example, to talk in front of an audience because you experience pain once, you don't like it, then you might attract similar pain circumstances. So the reason why you behave affects what you attract. If you're in the next circumstance, in the next example, I will give another one so that you can understand. For example, once you had proud parents, maybe when you were very little, then you had a pleasure of feeling recognized, and because you like what you had over there, and you had the pleasure, proud parents, you want to prove yourself worth of proudness, so you attract the same thing. this is also sometimes done in the wrong way, proving your self-worth of proudness because you had a lack of feeling recognized. Or if your parents, they didn't recognize you at all, well, then it doesn't work, because then that's what you attract again, because it's the reason why you behave. So my advice is focus on what you would like to attract and not what you want to avoid. Because if you focus on what you want to attract and you behave because you like that experience, then that is what you attract again.
And Martin, you are also suggesting that if you recognize this and you are still doing something which you can't attract, so if you exercise that, if the last example you just had, proving yourself with the proud because you want to attract the proud parents, but that doesn't happen, that's also worth recognizing, so that you stop doing that, right? Because otherwise you are attracting something which doesn't appear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got it right. So it is very good to focus and to listen to yourself, to observe why you behave in a certain way, and that's that. Well, that's also in a way being interconnected with yourself, right? Understand, listen, observe with yourself, and so to get to know what you experience actually. Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, let's continue to the next one. Oh, yeah. And there's another, just one thought I want to say. Some people might think that with a magnet, you have a minus and a plus, but that's not the case. The minus and a plus, you can choose with your own behavior in here. It's like we all behave in a certain way, we all act. And if we act because of a negative thing, that's what we attract. And if we act because of something positive that you want to attract, then that's what you attract. So the plus and minus are not over here.
Yeah. There's some more comments there from Reynard. I'm not sure we have all the time there, but he's talking about pain is an effective biological driver in life, for instance, for living creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying the response / behavior to the stimuli / pain is determined by nature, the DNA or your gravity, and experience, your upbringing. Again, Reynard, I think you and Martin will probably have some really good conversations. If you're not connected, you should probably be connected on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
He's also adding a sentence that says, if you have free will, you have the power to change your behavior / response.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have free will, you have the power to change your behavior and response.
Yeah, I would like to answer that one. Though there are different things said. Also, pain drives us the economy. It's also very interesting to dive into that. But first, if we have a free will, so it's just like how we understand what is free will is, it's for me just very almost like a lawyer will do. Like if you can find one proof of that there is no free will, then you can say there is no free will. And I found the proof of that we are determined. We have no choice in wanting to achieve feeling feeling healthy or feeling good, and some sort of desire to want to have happiness. So that doesn't mean that we don't have a choice or responsibility. We do have a choice, we do have responsibility, and you can change your life, or you can influence what you want. And that's also what I say here with magnetism. You have a choice, but our will is not completely free. That's basically it. And pain drives us with economy and society. That's very interesting. I'm still on this topic as well. What is pain actually? And well, so when there is pain and that moves you to desire something, then it can still guide you to have a desire, and you satisfy that desire, right? So pain is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you do something to avoid pain, then you will attract the circumstances that causes pain. So it's just how you see pain, and exactly, pain can also be a good thing. Yeah. Second form of connection on the second forms. That's a synchronization. We are all able to synchronize on, for example, music. it goes like this, like the music, your body listens and you get the vibration. Synchronization is basically everywhere, though things that doesn't really that you don't like to be synchronized with, for example, some sort of music that you don't like to hear, but if you hear, you get irritated. That can happen as well. Look to these red ones. So what is wise to do is to find places and circumstances that synchronize you in a way that you like. Something more abstract and more mysterious, but also very interesting is to compare a highway with a walk in the nature. Imagine you're standing next to a highway, you hear a lot of noise, of course, and that's also synchronized with your body. It also synchronizes with how you feel. You will get maybe anxious or stressed. But if you walk in the nature, then you also synchronize with the things that are over there, trees and grass, or a calmness that's over there, because you get synchronized with the same energy level that these trees are having. Even though you don't hear it like with cars, you still can get that synchronization similar with music. And then another secondary form of connection, satisfying desire and interconnection, that's love. Love is used in many ways. It's also a tricky one to open up. I use it very analytic, I think so. First I have the question, what is love? But because we are a little bit lack in time, I will just continue. Love is probably different for everyone, but again, there is a factor that is always there that makes a person feel love, and that's heading towards the same purpose. If you hear my cat,
it's okay. It's either very cute, so it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she probably has
needs a
a
bit
lack
of
of love. I think so.
Yes, that's right.
So just moving this one back, like heading towards the same person creates, if you put, for example, two fingers in water and you move it in the same direction, you get this love symbol, which is very interesting. I recommend you to try this yourself, because doing this, you get to understand the concept of love in a very different, in a lot of different ways. Love is not necessarily with a person, but you can experience with also things or something that you do, or you can have self-love, for example, but also in other way. If you don't move to some goal, then you basically can say that you're stuck in love. When you're not moving, you don't create these ripples that goes in the same direction, but there's nothing created, so you're stuck in love and you don't experience it anymore. So love is always something that moves. It's not something that stands still. Another thing that's interesting, if one thing that goes to another side, for example, you do something yourself that you don't want to do. For example, you hit yourself. You also experience pain, but you hit yourself anyway, anywhere, and that's not something that you like to do. Then you don't have self-love anymore. But if you accept yourself, and you just continue taking care of yourself, then you have self-love again. So this can be very interesting. It's also very difficult to make love, because once you're too close, then this one with that, then you don't create a love symbol anymore, meaning that you're almost one, which can be gravity, of course, but it's not creating love anymore. And if you're too much in distance, the same way. Yeah. Any thoughts about this? Then I can answer them now. Or
it's a long, deep question, that, Martin. But I like this thing you do with the fingers in the water. I've never heard of that before. So that is very interesting.
Yeah. Well, and when you do that, you also see ripples going this way, but you definitely see the love symbol, and that's a very interesting way. It's a very simple way to understand what it is about. Yeah. And I mean, sometimes people they would like to go in a different direction, and then you experience a breakup, right? But if you wish them to go in that direction, and you say, well, that's all okay for me. Go there. I like that you go in that direction yourself because that's good for you. Then that's an act of love because you're basically following them in the direction that they want. It's like guiding a child or helping them to grow up. You don't necessarily have to go with that person. It's an act of self-love if you stick with your own plan and go in that direction. Yeah. Okay, I will go to next slide. And that's basically the color palette. Just to remember what we all just talked about, we had 3 primary colors, 3 primary forms of connection. And this combination, gravitation and satisfying desire, created a magnetism. And then gravitation and the interconnection created a synchronization, and satisfying desire and interconnection together created love. Same with the colors, which is an interesting way to understand. Though there is another one, the white color, I call it intra-connection. And that one is maybe even harder to explain because it's almost, you cannot grab it. With a white color of the light, if you look very well, it's a combination of different colors, white color. And it basically contains all colors in itself. How I would describe interconnection is not being at one side, but being in the middle. Not being in the future or the past, but be in the now, for example. It's what I see, that people who are enlightened, they are in this state. They are feeling an interconnection. It's a meditative state. Yeah. And everything becomes one. There's not something different or different. Nothing is apart from something else because you're in the middle. I myself had completed a 10-day silence retreat in where you have to meditate and you sit in a very uncomfortable position. And when I had that, it was very painful. But then they said, yeah, you just have to connect with the pain and experience the pain. Though it was super hard. And on day 6 or 7, it did change the experience of the pain. Because I so badly wanted to connect with it, I experienced more of some sort of vibration or a pulsation of the pain than a constant pain. So it was for me indeed like I was there experiencing the pain, and the pain was coming to me the whole time. But when trying to be in the moment and connect more with the pain, come closer to it, then indeed I experienced a different. I don't want to say that I was enlightened at the moment, but I was a little bit coming closer to this form of intra-connection. To explain it in a different way, intra-connection is how I see it is that it's like a tornado. So when you're coming closer to this state of being really in the now, really in a meditation moment, then it can be very hard, the distractions, you get attracted to there's a lot of wind, and it's very hard to come in the middle. But when you're finally in the middle, then there is an upwards going energy, and that can lift you up and go can help you to come to a higher level. Of course, this is a very abstract way of explaining, but this is the only way how I could explain how this white color, the interconnection, could work. Any question on this one?
Not for me. We don't have a comment on it, so I think it's good to continue, Martin.
Yeah. Okay. So I will finish off with 10 tips on how to increase your happiness by living in connection.
This is the important stuff now, Martin.
This is the important stuff indeed. So pay attention a little extra. It's basically also a summary of what I just told.
Yeah.
It's good to revalue what are deep and meaningful connections to you. You can use that overview, what I just showed. You can simply do that yourself and put things out there, what you really would like to achieve or what are very important to you, what you get the most satisfaction out. That's smart to do. To set intermediate goals as well. I explained that rightly. Third one is minimize desires that cannot be satisfied yet. Then the fourth is take care of yourself. This one I explained not yet, but it's good to take care of yourself to avoid yourself of having a very big minus that you really, really need in a time that you don't have foreseen. So to prevent yourself from having a huge desire on something, it's good to take care of yourself using this metaphor of 5 rooms. And that's a room of career, relationships, health, leisure, and purpose. I once was reading this in a book, and it's basically like this. Imagine you are having a house, and you need to housekeep in every room every once in a week, or maybe every once in a month for sure. But if you don't do that, then one room can become very dusty, or maybe not maintained. And if you need, for example, you're focusing on your career, your health is great, your leisure, and you also find purpose in your life, but one thing falls away, your career falls away, and you have a need of good relationships to talk about something, and you don't have that, or it's very dusty in that room, then you can face a very big desire that you cannot satisfy yet. And so it's smart to take care of yourself to avoid getting a big desire that you cannot satisfy. Then another one is focus on what you like to attract. Think back about the magnetism one, but also on gravity. If you focus on gratefulness, that can be a very good advice for you, a tip to finish every day or start every day naming 3 things that you're grateful for. Then you're most likely to attract more things that you're grateful for, which basically is that you will experience things in life that you really like, because you pay attention more on the grateful thing. That's number 6 is express yourself. It's creating art. You can use a diary, talk, share, or show how you feel. And also be open to receive new energy, inspiration, and intuition by listening, observing, and feeling. These numbers 6 and 7, they help you to communicate with other people more, but also communicate with yourself better. It's that a form of connection, interconnection, that I explained. Number 8 is be aware of why you reject something. That's the very important one out of magnetism. So understand why you are doing something, why you reject, or why you are want to attract something, and why you behave in a certain way. So you can attract what you really like. Do activities that makes you feel synchronized, like meditation, music, exercise, or visit a concert. That can boost your connection level on that one. And number 10, gently help and support others. That creates meaningful, intimate, and joyful moments together. That's basically the one about love. So that's all it. And well, here a funny one. Contact me if you like to stay connected. I hope you don't need me for that one, but you can. I'm open. So I have an Instagram account and LinkedIn, or you can also send me an email.
Brilliant, Martin. I'm going to take that screen off and let's get us both back on here, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So there we go. So thank you very much. I might have some questions. There is another comment there from Reynard. He says we didn't need to answer that. We can just continue, but I'll go back to it and I'll just bring it on the screen. He was saying there that can you see that I've just brought on the screen there?
Yeah. So is love, for instance, not in the interconnection? Is it a specific type of connection, or is interconnection a more complete form of interconnection? So everything is related to each other, and in the end, it's all connection. What I'm talking about, but just to pull these things together, like what I just said is like there are all colors, right? But green is a little different than red, even though they're for people almost the same. People who are colorblind, they even see the same color, right, with green and red color. But love is really wishing the other person or the other part to go in the way that it desires, or to go in the way that it really likes to go. And with interconnection, it's more about yourself being open to achieve or to listen, to observe what is going on, and also to send how you feel, and how you feel and what it says about you. That has nothing really to do with the other person, or about making love, But they are in a way similar, and you can find similarities between all of these forms, of course. But what I try to do is to put all of these ones, like to separate these ones, to understand different ways on how to find connection.
Yeah, very good. I just want to take the time as well to thank those who commented so much. That's really appreciated. Martin, I know you were very worried about using this platform. It's difficult to know whether there's going to be interactivity, but it worked really well. And thank you for those who commented and participated. When we talked before, you said to me that you are trying to write a book on this subject. Where are you in that process?
Oh. I am in the process so far that I decided to do it and to quit other activities that I am on. I set boundaries for myself, and I also know who are my audience. These are the Dutch people. For that, it is easier to write in native
yes
language, of course. So yeah, I have written now about 20-30 pages.
Okay.
Gathered all my thoughts together, and I finally found some structure thanks to creating this presentation on how to structurize these different forms of connection. So
yes,
my goal is within 2 years to publish it. So I just go for it.
Good luck with that goal. Absolutely. Martin, the time's up. I'm going to say thank you to you and thank you to our audience today. There's a lot to think about here, obviously. I probably will get in touch with you to ask you some questions about that diagram that you drew with the things that you need to be conscious of, because I think I might want to do that exercise.
Cool.
If you just want to stay on, we're going to play the exit clip, and then I'll end the broadcast and I'll talk to you. But thank you very much for doing that today and giving us your time so freely.
Yeah, thank you very much, and because this helps me as well, and I enjoyed it.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. Just bear with us.